Welcome to the GIS 311 Quiz 2 Skills Demo, designed to help students prepare for the online Lab 2 Skills Preparation Quiz and Lab 2. I have Canvas open to the Quiz 2 Write-Up Demo. I also have the Quiz 2 Zip for most lab assignments. There is a write-up due and a zip file due. In this case, you need not access these items, but you can if you'd like. There will be directions as noted here that I'm roughly following as I do the quiz, and also the data, which we'll get to in a moment. The first step in any lab is to create your directory. I'm going to go to ArcMap. I've got my F drive, and within the F drive I'm going to create a new folder because I do not yet have a directory. Most students at this point in the class have a directory. I'll create my directory, initial directory, and then jump back in. I've created my directory. It's right here, and within it I have my GIS 311 quizzes directory folder. If this was a lab, I would create a GIS 311 labs folder, or I may already have one at this point. You likely already have a GIS 311 labs folder within your directory. And don't get confused with the quarter nor the date. This stands for all quarters and all years until this video is updated. Within the quizzes directory, create a new folder. I apologize, some of this is getting cut off the screen, but you can see the folder. And I'm going to name this folder Quiz 2. Within Quiz 2, we always have two folders. In this case, I'm going to have a user ID folder. Mine is GWLGIS, Quiz 2, and then a raw data folder. And this is titled with a K because these are karaoke quizzes. Students follow along. Online quizzes have the proper spelling of Quiz 2. I've created my directory. A note before we go any further, you may want to save all of your Excel files as 97 to 2000. When saving Excel files for this lab or quiz, I'm going to suggest you save them as XLS files. I'm going to show you that here. Scroll down to File, Save As, open the folder where you'd like to save, and notice I've already saved this as Book 1 XLSX. To prevent issues, you may want to change it to XL 97 to 2003 Workbook XLS, so without the extra X. And that will create an additional file within your folder. I'll show you that now. Save as. And right now it's XLS is showing, but if I change it to XLSX, that file is showing. And these are two different files, even though they have the same name. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. In addition, if you're using Office 2016 or 365, you must be sure to, in addition to saving to 97 to 2003, you must tell Excel to use the legacy data import wizards. That is found in File, Options. I'm going to go back, File, Options, and newer versions will have an extra item called Data. From Data, you will scroll down to Show Legacy Data Import Wizards, and you will choose that for the Excel. So it's Show Legacy Data Import Wizards. I do not have it because I do not have that level of software, but you will. It will be in the directions for Lab 2 in case you need it. I'm just going to get out of here. I can't set it because I do not have it. And I already have a book one saved, but we'll deal with that later. The next step is to download the data. You would go to where the data exists, and in this case it is in the quiz folder, but yours will be in the lab folder. You click on it, you get an option to save the file. I want to make sure that this fits. Go to my directory, go to the winter directory, quizzes, quiz 2, and all data in this course gets downloaded to our raw data. So we make sure raw data is in the very top bar, and this is where it will be saved. I click save, and it quickly saves to that area. I'm now going to extract the data. I pull up my Windows. Here's Windows. I open my quizzes, my quiz 2, and my raw data, and this is where I extract. It'll be a right click, open with Windows Explorer. From here, in the extract button, I click extract, extract all. Remember to delete the last folder so that you don't get a double folder issue, which we talked about in previous weeks. And it extracts. From there, this window with the pink extract in it, I can close, and technically I could close this one as well. I don't think I'm using it anymore. For now, I'm going to minimize. The next step in this process is to go back to Arcmap, find my data. In this case, there are 2 items of data, and drag them to my data folder. I don't yet have a data folder. I'm going to create one now within my user ID. New folder, and that is called Data K2. And while I'm at it, I'm going to add a map. K2. Once I have the data folder, I can drag my data into that folder. The data cannot be open when I drag it, or it'll get hung up. And now I have my data. Notice there is no zip showing up because Arc doesn't recognize the zip, but the zip file is still in here. These 2 files you won't have. I'm going to delete them now so you don't have to worry about them, so you don't get confused. And I've deleted the data. The next step is to open Excel and save a blank workbook as Quiz 2 table. I'm going to go to Excel, open a blank workbook, file, save as, go to my Quiz 2, in my data, and save it as Quiz 2 table. I'm going to try to save it as an XLSX, but I caution you, you may want to use .xls. And notice I'm saving it in there with my Oregon election data. I click Save. Now the title is Quiz 2 Table. I'm going to rename Sheet 1 to Election Data K2. Right click, rename Election Data K2. Notice there are no spaces, dashes, or funky characters. It has to be underscores instead of spaces. The next step is to create some headings in cell A1 through E1. I'm going to type in County Gov 2008 and the rest. I'll pause while I've got those entered. I also need a couple more sheets. So if I have sheets, I could just rename them, but I don't have any additional sheets. So I'm going to add new sheets and give them the names specified. Right click, rename, Gov 2008, rename the next one, Pres 2008. Gov 2012. I won't use all of these, but this is what you'll be doing in the lab, so I'm going to follow through. And Pres 2012. So we have a presidential 08 and 12 and a governor race 08 and 2012. I now have 5 sheets: election data, gov, pres, gov, pres. All different names, no spaces, no funky characters. Next step is back in ArcMap. I have not done anything except open an untitled map. Before I begin, I'm going to do all of those items that are necessary at this point. For the title, I'm just going to call this Quiz 2. The summary is Quiz 2 Demo. From the description, I'm going to quickly copy and paste from the quiz to this area, and you can do the same for your labs. I just paste in a little bit of information. I'm the author. You will be the author of your maps. Credits, I'm going to leave myself. Tags, I usually do GIS 311 and UWT. There is no hyperlink base. And for right now, we're going to leave the default geodatabase. We're not going to check that. We're not going to do the hyperlink base, but always, always, always we store relative path names to data sources. Click Apply and OK. Other items that I must set. I'm going to Geoprocessing, Options, and make sure that Enable is not checked in background processing. I do not want to check that. It's correct. Click OK. Under Geoprocessing Environments, it landed off my screen. I'll pull it back. We need to set a workspace. My workspaces will be my data folder. The first trick is finding my directory. I click on Data, K2, and Add. Once it's done, I click on the next one for the scratch, and it pops up automatically. From here, we have no more to set until future labs. I'll click OK, and now save my map in my Maps folder. Save as. I need to navigate to my Maps folder. So I'll go to my F drive, 2020, Quizzes, Quiz 2, User ID, and Maps. And now I'll name the map as directed in the directions. In this case, I'm going to paste the name of the map, get rid of the extra apostrophe, change the user ID to mine. Make sure it's going to Maps K2. I'm going to use this little down arrow to make sure I verify that it's in the correct directory. My 2020, my quizzes, quiz 2, user ID, and maps, because it is a map. I've verified. I'm going to click Save. In this step, we're going to use a little ArcMap trick to export some useful data out of the data that we have in the map. We're going to export a table. You'll need this trick in other labs. Please remember that when a data table is open and you export data, you will get exactly what you have open, meaning a table. If you export data while viewing a layer in the map, you will get a layer. And that'll make more sense as we continue with future labs. For now, I'm going to add Oregon counties to the map by clicking and dragging. First thing we should always do when dragging a shapefile to the map is clear the projection of the coordinate of the data frame. I'm going to right click on Layers, Properties, go to the Coordinate System tab. Notice it has a geographic coordinate system. I'm going to click on the mini arrow and clear. That changes it to no coordinate system. I'll click Apply and OK. One thing I should do right now while I'm looking at it is realize that I forgot to change the name of my data frame. So I'm going to change the name of the data frame to Quiz to data frame. Now I've caught up on what I should have done. I need to open the attribute table. I click on the layer and open the attribute table. And this is a small screen that I'm creating this video, so it'll be crystal clear. So I have to reduce my screen size of the table. So here's the table based off of this layer. It's quite a lot of data, but we're going to use some of it in a different tool, or for example Excel. We're going to export a table. We're going to export a database table. So under table options, I'm going to scroll down to export. I'm going to export all records, and I have to tell it where to save. It opens up to a different quiz, actually for a completely different class. I'm going to go back, make sure I navigate to my data folder, and I'm going to name the file Oregon County Attributes.dbf. And in the bottom, I'm going to change this to a DBase table, database, which .dbf. I'm going to save, and it's going to ask if I want to add it to the map. I'm going to say no, because I don't need it in the map. I'm going to close the attribute table. From here, since I changed the name of my data frame, I'm going to save the map again so I don't lose anything. Next step is to open the Excel table, open the database table in the Excel. I'm going to File, Open, navigate to my data folder, and it doesn't seem to be in here. There is one, Oregon County Attributes. However, it's an XML file, so that means that it's an XML document and it's just metadata. It won't amount to anything. I'm going to try to show you that. Notice it's going to be jumbled. And if I open it, it's going to ask me a silly question. I'm going to say as an XML table. It says there's an issue. I'll say okay. We wait a bit, and Excel is not responding. So I'm going to wait a little bit more. This will cause a problem. It's been a minute or so. Oh, it finally opened, and this is not what we're looking for. So I waited long enough. It did pop up, but opening that XML file did not work. I'm going to close the XML file. Let's say okay. Now I'm going to try to close it again. I'm going to not save, and now I'm back to the Quiz 2 table. I'm going to try again to open. This time I'm going to show you the proper way to do it. I'll go to Browse. Right now this says all Excel files. If I change that to all files, then the Oregon County Attributes.dbf without the XML will show up. And now we're looking at Oregon County Attributes.dbf. This is the file that I want to open. I click on it and I choose Open. Now it is open. Move it in so you can see it a little bit easier. The first step is I'm only using the name column. I'm going to grab on the B, slide it completely to the right till I run out of data, and then delete. I can right click and delete, and all the data is gone. I'm going to remove duplicates. I'm going to highlight column A, go to the Data tab, and find Remove Duplicates. Sometimes counties are listed twice. We'll see that in King County, perhaps, and possibly in Pierce County within Washington State, and others, perhaps Island County. So we need to remove duplicates. and we'll get into why they're duplicates at a later date. I'll go back to highlighting column A, and then I'll find in my data tools the button that says remove duplicates. It's going to ask, I'm going to select all, and I'm looking in column name to delete duplicates. In this case, none were found, but it's an important task to do, especially with other Washington counties. This is a Oregon county, and they don't have any in Oregon, any counties with duplicate lines. Now that I've checked for duplicates, I'm going to copy just the county names, and I always scroll to the bottom, click on the lowest, the one at the bottom, and scroll up, because there's a stopping point. If I were to grab up top and scroll down, all of a sudden I'm into the 200s. It's much easier for me to scroll up, start at the bottom, click once, click and highlight. In this case, I do not want the heading, and Control C for copy. I will now paste the values into the Quiz 2 table. I'm going to minimize this table, go back to Quiz 2, and I'm going to place it in Election Data 2 under County, paste. What I should have done, and we should always do, especially when working with Excel data, is paste special. So this time, instead of just paste, Control V, I'm going to right click on Baker, the top cell, A2, where I want to place this, and look for paste special and highlight the 1, 2, 3 and paste values. 99% of the time, we just want to paste values, and we'll see that in a moment. So for right now, I have pasted values. One last item, I'm going to sort alphabetically by name, just in case. Here's the sort. I'm going to sort by county column because my data has headers. I'm going to sort A to Z. They probably were already in order, but this just makes sure that they're in order. Directions now state to open the election data. When you're completing the lab, students are completing the lab on their own. They'll be downloading their own election data. For this exercise, I'm providing the data. I'm going to go back to Open Data. I'll browse, and Oregon election data. That's what I want to open. I'll click Open. So here we have election data. Let me move it so you can see. For Oregon for 2008. We're only going to try with 2008 data for the quiz, just to give you a look of what is going on. I'm going to delete any extra columns in both sheets, the presidential data and the governor data. Notice that only the Republicans and the Democrats are the ones that quote unquote count, because they're the ones that won the counties. No other candidates won, so we don't need to include them in this analysis. I'm going to highlight D through H. Doesn't matter if I go to I. Well, first I have to click Enable Editing. Now I'll highlight D through I and delete by right clicking and delete. Now the data is gone. I'm going to copy columns A, B, and C from the Oregon election data to the appropriate sheet in the Quiz 2 table. Before doing so, I will, as I did in the other sheet, the other Excel document, as a matter of fact, I'm going to sort the names of the counties. And in this case, there is no heading. So I'm not going to select the heading row. I'm just going to go up to row 2 and scroll to data, click on the sort A to Z, or I could click on the sort button, and it asks what do I want to sort. I don't have headers. I want to sort by column A, and now column A is sorted. Now that it's sorted, I can go back and copy columns A, B, and C to the appropriate sheets in the Quiz 2 table. I'm going to copy the presidential data columns A and B by Control C, going back to the other table. And in this case, that was the presidential election in 2008. I'm going to put that in column 2. And I notice that I do need the headings. So I'll go back to the other sheet, Oregon election data, and just grab Barack Obama and Joe Biden. So again, that's President 2008. I'll go to my other sheet, and I'll just put Barack Obama and Joe Biden. So this is presidential 08. Of course, I also need the other candidate that won some counties. So I'll go back to Oregon election data, and this time I know that I need to include John McCain and Sarah Palin, so I'll include them. Control C. I'll go back to President 2008, click in C1, right click, paste values. I now have the election data for the presidential election 2008 in my presidential 2008 sheet of Quiz 2 table. I'll now repeat that process for the governor election 2008 by going back to the governor data, Oregon election data, clicking on Gov 2008. It appears that this candidate and Ron Sexton, the Republican, Democrat, Republican, are the ones that quote unquote mattered. So I'm going to delete the parties that did not win. And because I'm confident in what I'm copying and pasting, I already did it with the presidential data. I'm going to copy, minimize, go to the Governor 08 where I am, right click and paste special. You may have noticed that I forgot to do that on the very first one of presidential, but I remembered it on the John McCain. The next step is to determine who won. Whoever has the most votes between these two columns was the winner. And in this case, it was the Republican. And let me help by expanding this and making sure that they fit. I'm going to go to alignment. I'm going to wrap text so we can see who they are. So we have a Democrat and Republican. So in this case, the Republican won. So I'm going to type in REP because that's who won. The second column, 20,000 versus 12,000, the Democrat won, DEM. The next column was close, but the Democrat still won, 70,000 to 65,000. And this is very tedious. We're going to create a formula that will calculate this for us so we don't have to go through all of the counties. To create a formula, we're going to create an if-then statement. Put my cursor in the box where I want the formula to reside. I may need to make a note of who won so I can test my formula. And the first step is function. From function, I'm going to search up here for the word if. And it was already there, but if it wasn't, I could search for if and go, and now I have an if statement. I'm going to click OK, and I want a logical test. This logical test is if, and notice it's coming up already, this value is greater than this value, and they're telling me that it's true. It's seeing the data. If this is greater than this, and in the previous county, Clackamas, it was true, as this is, I want to enter DEM. If it is false, I want to enter REP. REP. And notice that DEM is correct. I'd verify 7,900 to 5,800. DEM is the right answer. From here, I can easily copy this formula all the way down. So I'm going to double click on this little arrow, and that copies the formula all the way down. Notice that this isn't REP. It is a formula that is based on these two cells, which is why when I copy this value, copy this cell, I need to copy and paste a value, not copy and paste a formula. Up here, they are actual values of REP, DEM, but as soon as I get to where I started the formula, I have to change it. In this case, I have the governor data. I'll scroll to the bottom, scroll up, highlighting all of them. So this is the winner for the governor in 2008. I'm going to paste that into my election data, governor 2008, and remember it's paste values. I'm going to right click, paste values. If I had done the formula, I would get horrible answers because it's referencing two previous cells and there aren't even two previous cells. Again, I paste values. Let's go back to our other sheet and do the same with the presidential. I'll go to the presidential and I have to create the formula. In this case, I'm going to save a little time by going back to the governor. Oh wait. And it appears I Control X, so I cut instead of copied. So be careful when you do that. So I guess I'll just rewrite my formula for President 2008. Interesting. Again, I create an if statement. I go up to the formula. If logical test, if this column is greater than this column, the answer should be what? It should be DEM, because Barack Obama and Joe Biden are Democrat. If false, it should be REP for Republican. I click enter, I double click, the formula goes all the way down, and it changes from B37 to C37 versus all the way up here where it was B2 to C2. Excel is smart enough to carry that formula down. I copy the values, and this time I'll be sure to click C for copy. Go back to the other table, presidential 2008. I'm going to right click, paste values. I now should save this. It's still Quiz 2 table. I'm going to click save and close. And my other Excel file, Oregon County election data, I do not need anymore. I'm going to close. I can save it if I want. Sure, I'll save. The next step is to add the table to my map. I refresh my data, which is always a good thing to do. Here's my Quiz 2 table, and I have election data K2. I would like to add that to my map. All it is a table. It will not show up on the screen. Nothing showed up in the mapping area, but it is here. I'm now going to join this Oregon county's data with the election data. So I have spatial information with non-spatial information so that I can map based on the non-spatial information. So I'm joining from this table to these shapes. The first step in doing so is opening both tables to see how we're joining. We're joining via attribute. So I'm open the attribute table, and there are a plethora of attributes, but nothing related to election. And that's where the other table comes in. If I just scoot this out of the way a little bit, back so you can see everything. I open this table by just clicking open. I now have two tables. The trick is I have to find something in this table that matches up with this table so that it can be a join. The name of the field up here does not matter. It just needs to have the same information. I always start with the field, with the table that has the least number of columns. In this case, the actual data of the elections, and yours will be full, by the way. Just for brevity, I'm not doing governor or presidential 2012. These are the actual data that we'll be mapping, so these aren't the unique key or the unique fields. This is the unique key that I'm going to use to join. So on my handy dandy piece of paper, I'm going to write down in election data K2, my field is county. Then I can switch over to Oregon counties and look for something that's similar. Another way to look at this is to grab the tab. Notice these are little tabs or sheets, if it looks like Excel to you. I'm going to click and drag and move it over to the right and then scrunch this. So now I'm looking for something that matches county. It does not have to be the same name up here. It just has to be the same values. And in this case, I can see that it's in name. Notice that if these are sorted differently, it doesn't have to line up. In fact, I'm going to leave it like this to show you that it does not matter. There is still a baker in this table and a baker in this attribute table. And this, again, Oregon counties, that's the shapefile. That's this one that's in the map. Now I know that in Oregon counties, I'm going to write this down, the field name is name. So I have name and counties, and I'm going based off of my notes. I'll now close the tables and start my join. We always start with the shape to do the join. If we're doing an attribute join with the table, we always start with the shape because we're going to pull this data to the shape. I right click, joins and relate, join. Choose the field in this layer, and that's Oregon counties, that the join will be based on. And notice this is join attributes from the table. So I need a unique key. The unique key was name. I wrote that in my notes. It guesses that, oh, Greg wants to join this to election data because it's the only other table in the map. And Arcmap is even smart enough to suggest county. Be aware though that every time that whatever is suggested isn't the exact correct answer. And in fact, in your lab, you may need to scroll down to choose what you've written in your notes. In this case, Arcmap guessed properly, and it is county. We are going to keep all records, and then I validate the join. 36 will match, is what I'm reading. So it's completed successfully. Nothing's happened yet. It hasn't joined. I just validated it. I click close, and then I click OK. Before I do, I just want to show you this about joining data document. You may want to click on this. I'll scrunch it down so it fits. This is Arcmap Help. This gives you a lot of information about joining, and I suggest you take a look at it if you get stuck. This is the essentials of joining tables. At the very least, write down that name because it'll help you find it in the online help if you can't get to the desktop help. But back to my join, I've validated, I've looked at the hints, and I click OK. It doesn't look like anything happened, and that's important to realize. It doesn't say congratulations, it doesn't say anything. But if I open the attribute table and scroll all the way to the right, you notice that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all columns were added. These are still no. We expected that. There was no values. We put the county in again. That's fine. It's now in there twice, just a different name. And we have our results. If you did not paste values, these would also be null. So you have to be careful to paste values in Excel so that you get actual values instead of null values. I'm going to close my attribute table. One very important aspect of doing a join: once you complete the join, this data will be lost. The join will no longer be joined unless you save the data. And we save the data by exporting it to a new layer. And that's what I'm going to show you now before I start symbolizing. In this case, we're going to create two distinct layers to symbolize. In your lab, you'll do it with a number of layers. To do so, I right-click, scroll down to Data, Export Data. First step is to tell it where to go and what to name it. In this case, the directions are telling me I'm going to save it as Oregon Governor 2008. It doesn't matter which one you do first, or Governor or Presidential. So Oregon Gov 2008 and save. It is going to data K2. Notice I double check and it is correct. I click OK, and yes, I do want it in the map. I'm going to export again, Data, Export Data. This time I'm going to call it Presidential. Oregon Pres 2008. I copy from the directions, I paste, I get rid of the space and the apostrophe, and click Save, and OK. Yes, I do want it in the table. I now have three different layers in my map. Why do we only see one? The reason is they're all lined up on top of each other. Whatever one is on top is the one that I see. I have pinkish, greenish, and purplish. If I go to drawing order, I can make it so that the green is on top of purple or the pink is top of green. Just realize that these bottom two are copies of this one. They're the exact same thing, but notice they are in the data. I'm going to symbolize one for governor and one for presidential. They're going to be symbolized the same way. Blue for Democrat, red for Republican. Symbolizing, you've already done. I'm going to turn off Oregon counties. In fact, I could remove it. I'm going to save my map while I'm here. Save as. In this case, it's going to maps K2. I'm going to just say map 2. Symbolizing the gubernatorial data. Properties. Symbology. I'm going to go to categories. I need to choose the name of the value field. In this case, I'm symbolizing Governor 2008. I scroll down, I choose Governor 2008. Add all values. For Democrat, I want blue. I'm double clicking and I'm going to choose a blue that I feel represents Democrats. I'll click OK. Republican. Here, let me show you that. It ended up on a different screen. Mars red. And turn off all other values. I click apply. Let me move this so we can see it apply. The state's in blue, the Democrat one, the state's in red, the Republicans one. For governor, I'll now symbolize Pres 2008 by scrolling down to properties, which you can't quite see. I'm sorry, it's off the screen. In symbology, categories, I need to choose the name of the field. In this case, it's President 2008. Add all values. Democrats are blue. and the Republicans get a Mars red. Turn off all other values. There aren't any, you notice, but we'll still turn them off. Apply. We can't see it actually. I'm going to say OK. We can't see the presidential data because the Oregon data is on top. I turn off the Oregon data and we can finally see the presidential data. Notice there's nearly identical. We're going to do one last item that you're going to do in your lab on your own. We're going to concatenate some fields and display which counties changed between governor and presidential, or which parties are different based in the same election year. To do so, I first need to export another one of these layers. I'm going to right click, it doesn't matter which one, data, export data, and I'm going to name it in the data folder Gov Pres Party Difference 2008. So what we're saying is which counties had a difference between governor and president election in 2008. I'm going to save, add it to the map. It comes up on top. Notice the others are still there. To symbolize this Pres and Gov party difference in 2008, I need to open the attribute table. Scroll to the end, and what we're looking for is a difference between Gov 2008 and Pres 2008. First, I need a field in which to put that data. I'm going to add a field by clicking the table options, add field. I'm going to call the field Gov Pres 2008, and I want it to be text. Point of note, in this class we either use double text, actually double or text for the most part, unless we're going to use a date. Double will work if you need float, long integer, or short integer. We just use double to make it easy. So I choose I choose text because I don't want a number, I want text. And I'm going to change this from 50 characters to 20. I don't need that many. Is invalid because it's too long. So that's a concern. So let's not do what Arc suggested, and let's just call it Pres 08. It's still text and it's 20. There. Now we've got a new field, 20 characters long, Gov Pres 08. We're now going to concatenate and symbolize if the county, in this case Baker, voted for Republican for governor and Republican for president, it's still going to be red. So this would say Rep. If it was a Democrat that won, for example in Benton County, it would say Dem. If a county, and I don't know where there is one, but if they voted for Republican and governor and Democrat president, it'll say Rep. Dem, and then notice this isn't that, but we'll see it if it pops up. Or the opposite, if it was Democrat for governor and Republican for president, it would say Dem Rep. To do that, we have to concatenate. And to concatenate, we use the field calculator. I scroll down to the field calculator, and it asks, do you want to calculate outside of an edit session? And we're going to say yes. And in the field calculator, we're going to use the fields themselves to concatenate. In Gov Pres 08, that's this column right here, we're going to concatenate. And concatenation is used, we use this symbol right here. And remember, I said we're going from Gov, then Pres. First thing I do is Gov 08, and by clicking this button, Pres 08. If you need to learn more about calculating fields, I highly suggest you click on this and save it, or at least remember the names. For now, I'm going to click on it to show you Calculate Field Examples. This will give you almost every formula or help assistance that you need to remember calculating field examples. You could also locate the topic to find it later. In this case, I'm just going to close. I have my concatenation, Gov 08 and Pres 2008. Click OK. It calculates and all of my fields are calculated. Rep, dem, rep, etc. I'm going to close it, and now one of my last steps is to symbolize. Open the symbology, categories. First step, you should be thinking in your head, the value field. I go to the field that I just calculated, GovPres 08, add all values, and notice there could have been 4. There is no dem rep. There is a rep dem. So we now symbolize. We're going to use a similar color scheme. Let's do rep as Republican is going to go back to red. That was just a random color assigned by Arcmap. Dem is still going to be our blue. And we have the rep dem. For this, we'll choose, just for giggles, Seville orange, which I believe is here. So it's a combination between the red and the blue, or at least it shows this one county that initially voted Republican for governor and Democrat for president. I'll move it off to the side, apply, and now we have our data symbolized. I close the layer properties, and we have our results. You'll do a little bit more in the lab. You'll do some cartography that you learned in Lab 1. There are also a few exercises of exporting, but for as far as new skills, I have covered all of the new skills in this demonstration. I'm going to save my final map. This isn't your final map at this stage, but just to show you what happens, I'm going to save my final map as though it was a final map. I give it the AAA, which brings it to the top of my maps folder. And then after map, instead of map 2, I'm going to call it final MXD. And if we look in my maps folder, there's my map final. It's highlighted or bold because that's the map that I'm working on right now. Again, in the lab, you'll be exporting an image of all of these. Oh, I just happened to notice that I did not turn off. Some of you may have seen that. I did not turn off all other values. It's showing up over here. I'll apply. Now it's gone. So again, there'll be other things to do. I've only done 3 maps here. You'll have more to do in the lab, but this will hopefully give you some idea of what is going to happen in Lab 2. As final steps, again, I would export PNGs, put it in a write-up or whatever the directions say, but for now I don't need to export anything to show you you've done that. I'll close ArcMap. It asks me if I want to save again. I'll say sure, yes. One thing I will show you though is how to zip up and submit, because you will have a write-up and a PDF, and you'll have to zip up your directory. In this case, you go to Quiz 2, and here is my user ID Quiz 2. This is the folder we always zip for the lab submission .zip, not Quiz 2, because if I get 20 Quiz 2s, I won't know who is who, because these are all Quiz 2. and it will include your raw data, which is extra data we don't want. No need to send it. So I click on quiz 2. It's in the path up here. This is called the path. I right click, send to. Now I need to find it. It's compressed, and it creates it. This is the zip that you'll send. Notice I closed ArcMap first. If I hadn't closed ArcMap, I would have gotten an error while zipping. And that concludes the Quiz 2 demo. You'll submit for the lab a write-up, a PDF, so that's your cartography, the PDF, and then also a zip that I just told you how to zip. Good luck on Lab 2 and the Lab 2 demo quiz.